the finance minister, when she was speaking about the rationalization of GST rates, said that this will have a positive impact on the GDP. What kind of impact is being calculated here?
It's difficult to put a number on this for obvious reasons, because the idea here is not so much the first order impacts, but the second order impacts of efficiency. Difficult to put a number on it, but longer term, simplification of taxes, lowering the tax burden, generally speaking, leads to a more efficient, productive economy, and that is the aim here. This was the aim even at the time the GST was introduced. There were all kinds of numbers about how exactly the economy will grow, but frankly, these things can't be modeled because there will be all kinds of complex impacts on the system. And by the way, we will continue monitoring this because it's not like there will not be other things that we can improve on.
So how big is the shift this is going to be?
I think it's a big shift, but it also needs to be seen in the wider context that GST is not the only thing the way we are doing reforms. There are a large number of process reforms that have also been promised by the Honorable Prime Minister. As you will know, a couple of committees have been formed on deregulation that will be looking into it, headed by Niti Aayog member Mr. Gauba, the former Cabinet Secretary. And there are other efforts too. So this has to be seen as a part of a much wider effort to up the game.
6 months ago, Mr. Sanyal, in the budget, there was that big announcement with regards to the tax cuts. And now we are seeing this. When the announcement was made by the finance minister, she spoke about the impact on several groups. And she spoke particularly in the context of the middle class, the farmers, and also the Aam Aadmi. Do you see this as continuity then?
Yes, and specifically in the case of the middle class that you mentioned, let me say that we are an aspirational society. We are talking of removing absolute poverty, and of course, we have seen that some, over 200 million people have been removed from absolute poverty in the last decade or so. And that, that's not just our numbers, international agencies like World Bank and so on also have very high numbers of literally hundreds of millions of people moved out of poverty. Now, when you move them out of poverty, where do they go? They go into the middle class eventually. I mean, some eventually lower middle class, middle class, and so on. So when you are dealing with an aspirational society, you also have to create the spaces for this class to grow into. So what we are doing is, first the income tax cuts up to, zero tax till 12 lakhs. Now, with these measures, you're basically creating the space for the middle class to grow into this space. And, as for an aspirational society, that's exactly what you should be attempting to do.
As an economic historian, you often place today's policy in a wider frame, Mr. Sanyal. With the visuals we are seeing out of the SEO summit in Tianjin and multiple conversations which are happening about a new global economic order, where do you see India positioning itself in this clearly evolving landscape?
So we are an emerging world power. We are not there yet, but we are clearly emerging. We will be, in the next couple of years or so, becoming the world's third largest economy. We are the world's largest population. We are, at least at the regional level, a military power of some consequence. So what it does mean is that we need to begin to stand up for our interests. In the past, we had done this somewhat more apologetically. But as you may have seen, that we have stopped being apologetic about the matter. This does not mean that we will escalate matters with our trading partners or specifically with the US, but we will stand our ground. So if you see what we have done in the last few months, as this whole tariff issue has spiraled out, that we have not made sort of irresponsible statements. We have, by and large, been playing this very softly at one level, but at the same time we are standing up for our interests. So it's not like we are escalating things out, but it is also not the case that we are backing down.
So would you then say that the reason why the GST reforms were announced today, I mean, in fact, last night, it comes into effect from 22nd of September, has to do with unpredictability, one would say, attached to the ongoing trade talks with the United States?
I don't think you can sort of link them one is to one. Fact of the matter is that, as I mentioned, as a rising global power, we now need to learn to stand up for our interests, and we are doing so. That requires us, of course, to build on our own economy. But do remember that we should be investing back into our economy anyway to keep it going at a high rate of growth. You know, the first quarter number came in at a very strong 7.8%, higher than I expected anyway. And so you have very good growth momentum, but you have to keep feeding that growth momentum. Otherwise, it will lose steam. So this is why it is important that we keep building our economic strength up, irrespective of what is happening externally. Now, of course, the coincidence that this happens at such a particular geopolitical juncture, you can read what you want into it. But I would say that we would have cleaned up and simplified and lowered the GST system, irrespective of this current external situation.
All right, Sanjeev Sanyal, economist, author, and member of the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council. I appreciate your time joining us this morning and explaining the larger import and the thought behind the GST reforms.